Tonight, after more than 30 years behind bars, the bombshell decision that could lead to the Menendez brothers going free. The infamous case, Lyle and Eric Menendez serving life for the 1989 killings of their parents. They say it was self-defense after years of abuse. Today, the DA recommending they be resentenced. After new evidence emerged, could they be released and how soon? We question the DA. Just 12 days until the election, Kamala Harris bringing out the star power. A rally in Georgia with Barack Obama and Bruce Springsteen. And now word Beyonce will also join her on the trail. It comes after the vice president said she believes Donald Trump is a fascist. Mr. Trump, meantime, blitzing two battlegrounds in the West, and his new vow, if he is reelected, to fire special counsel Jack Smith. The ballots burned in a critical battleground, a mailbox set ablaze. The suspect under arrest. McDonald's saying it's identified the source of the onions linked to its E. coli outbreak. The supplier issuing a recall. The FDA investigating. And the mom who says she wound up in the hospital after eating McDonald's. And the insect wrangler who overcame his fear to create a big buzz on social media.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening and welcome. The Menendez brothers, two of the most notorious killers of the last 35 years, could be eligible for release immediately, according to Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon, who has announced prosecutors will ask a court tomorrow to resentence Lyle and Eric Menendez. They're currently serving life sentences for the brutal shotgun murders of their parents inside their Beverly Hills home in 1989. The case captivated the country at the time and has been thrust back into the headlines by recent documentaries and calls for their release by family and celebrity supporters. At the crux of those calls, the brothers claim that their father had sexually abused them and that the killings were an act of self-defense. The DA saying tonight they have paid their dues. Senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett has more.
After serving more than 3 decades behind bars, tonight the Menendez brothers may soon be on the verge of release.
I believe that they have paid their debt to society.
Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon announcing today his office will support a resentencing of Eric and Lyle Menendez, convicted of murdering their parents in a Beverly Hills mansion, a case that captured the nation's attention, one of the first to be televised.
We're going to recommend to the court that the life without the possibility of parole be removed and that they will be sentenced for murder. They will be eligible for parole immediately.
The DA under pressure to re-examine certain evidence of sexual abuse the brothers say they endured at the hands of their father, Jose, then a high-powered music executive.
Because I think that often, for cultural reasons, we don't believe victims of sexual assault, whether they're women or whether they're men.
Those claims dismissed by prosecutors at the time, who argued they killed out of greed to get their inheritance money, and the abuse allegations were largely excluded by the judge when the brothers were tried and convicted in 1996, but viewed in a new light now, gaining fresh attention with a Peacock documentary and recent Netflix series, and from pleas by celebrities and extended family members who've called for their release.
This decision is not just a legal matter. It is a recognition of the abuse my cousins endured.
All that mounting pressure raised by critics of the DA's decision who question its timing as Gascon faces a tough re-election in less than 2 weeks, and why he's acting now when the brothers' pending petition for freedom laying out evidence of the abuse was filed more than a year ago. Mr. District Attorney, when did you make the final decision in this case to recommend resentencing?
The final decision was made today. I have been reviewing arguments within my office, both in support and against it, and I came to my final conclusion a few hours ago.
Why the timing so close to the election?
This has nothing to do with the election. This has to do with the workload of the office.
So, Laura, this goes to court tomorrow. Walk us through what happens next.
Yes, Lester. The judge in this case still has to sign off on this recommendation for resentencing, so we're likely to see a hearing on that set in the coming weeks. And the DA previewed not all in his office agree with this recommendation and may actually oppose it.
All right, Laura Jarrett, thank you. Just 12 days until Election Day, and Vice President Harris is in battleground Georgia tonight to campaign with former President Obama after saying she thinks former President Trump is a fascist. Peter Alexander has late details.
Vice President Harris tonight ramping up efforts to get out the vote, joined by former President Obama and rock legend Bruce Springsteen. Michelle Obama on Saturday, and Beyonce expected to perform at a Harris rally in Houston tomorrow. Harris is trying to hammer home what she argues is the contrast with former President Trump.
Donald Trump will sit in the Oval Office, stewing, plotting revenge, retribution, writing out his enemies list, or what I will be doing, which is responding to folks like the folks last night with a to-do list.
At a televised town hall, Harris highlighting Trump's longest-serving chief of staff, John Kelly, saying his former boss meets the definition of a fascist.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
Trump says Kelly was lying out of pure Trump derangement syndrome hatred. Harris says it's a warning.
He's just putting out a 911 call to the American people.
Harris was also asked about a frequent Trump criticism of her, that she's had nearly 4 years to make the changes she's now calling for.
Why wasn't any of that done the last 4 years?
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done, that haven't been done, but need to be done.
And she was pressed for specifics on a border wall. She now backs a bill that funds some new construction, but she previously called a wall stupid.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
Meanwhile, polls show the vice president is facing an enthusiasm gap with black men. In Philadelphia, we met Harris supporter Jeremy Page.
What is it about Kamala Harris that has you backing her so strongly?
It is her being an advocate for small businesses and for economic development.
Gary Blassingale is voting for Trump.
I like the way he speaks his mind. He says what everyone is thinking.
But Harad remains undecided.
This is one of the few elections where I actually feel like we have been valued as black men.
And here in Georgia, more than 2 million people have already cast their ballots in person, a record, and a third of all the active voters in this state. Lester.
All right, Peter, thank you. Former President Trump is in Arizona making controversial comments about the special counsel. Garrett Haake joins us. Garrett, you're at Trump's rally tonight.
Lester, the former president was heavily focused on the border and the economy here, issues he believes will propel him in Arizona and when he campaigns later tonight in Nevada.
Tonight, with less than 2 weeks to Election Day, former President Trump hitting critical battlegrounds, including the campus of Arizona State.
I will launch the largest deportation program in American history. We're going to know.
And overnight in Georgia.
I'd like to begin by asking a very simple question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?
A new poll shows Trump going into the final stretch leading Vice President Harris by 2 points nationally, within the margin of error, and showing most Americans, 54%, disapprove of Harris's job performance as vice president, while 52% approved of Trump's performance as president. This morning, a clearly confident Trump making a controversial vow to fire special counsel Jack Smith moments after taking office.
Oh, it's so easy, so easy. I would fire him within 2 seconds.
Saying he does not believe the House, even if controlled by Democrats, would impeach him for a third time.
No, I don't think they'll impeach me if I fire Jack Smith. Jack Smith is a scoundrel.
Smith, who was appointed by Attorney General Merrick Garland, is prosecuting 2 cases against Trump, one over his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. A second case involving Trump's handling of classified documents was dismissed by a Trump-appointed federal judge, a decision Smith has appealed. The Harris campaign responding, quote, Donald Trump thinks he's above the law, and that a second Trump term, where a more unstable and unhinged Trump has essentially no guardrails, is guaranteed to be more dangerous. Trump has called Smith's prosecutions political, pointing to a recent statement by President Biden.
We gotta lock him up.
Politically lock him out. Lock him out.
The White House says the president was just referring to politically defeating Trump.
He's not allowed to say that. He's such a stupid guy.
Garrett Haake, NBC News, Tempe, Arizona.
Young voters could hold a key to the outcome of this election, and tonight a new NBC News Stay Tuned Gen Z poll finds